Today is April 4th, 2024. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, just a few things on today's program. First, I've talked about this before regarding the referendum that's going to be taking place in Florida this coming November. Similar to Michigan's Proposal 3 or Ohio's Issue 1, it would enshrine abortion rights in the Florida state constitution, which would be devastating for Floridian, pro-life Floridians. But there had been a question or a challenge about the legality of this referendum. And the Florida State Supreme Court was going to make a ruling on April 1st whether or not to allow this to proceed to a vote. And it did. On April 1st, the Florida Supreme Court approved the referendum to be placed on the ballot. And I'm not too shocked that it did. I think the argument against it was valid, but the court ruled otherwise. Now, remember, I've talked about this before too. In Florida, unlike most states, in Florida, you have to have a 60% approval for a state constitutional change. So if there's going to be a constitutional amendment, it will not pass with 59% of the vote. It has to get at least 60%. And if you think back to Michigan's Proposal 3, we lost 57 to 43%, which was a big margin. But still, the other side did not get, the reproductive freedom for all people did not get 60%. And I believe Florida is a more conservative state than Michigan. When you factor in the fact that a lot of residents are senior citizens, perhaps more conservative, a lot of people descended from Puerto Rican or Cuban descent, Roman Catholic, more family-oriented, I think it's going to be very difficult to get a 60% pro-abortion vote in Florida. So obviously, the other side is going to throw tons of money into this project and try to mislead the voters. But I do think that even if they get twice as much money allocated for this pro-abortion referendum, that it will lose. But we will see when it all plays out in November. Second item, saw that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer was on CNN apparently a few days ago, and she was talking about Alabama's Supreme Court making a ruling on in vitro fertilization. And I'm just going to read a little bit from this article. Kind of gives you an idea of where the liberal Democrats are coming from. The interviewer says, on this Florida ruling on in vitro fertilization, you have not said whether or not you agree that frozen embryos are considered people. What is your position on that? Asked Caitlin Collins of CNN. And then Whitmer says, quote, "Who cares what my position is, Caitlin?" she retorted. Whitmer continued, quote, "What matters is what the parents and their doctor agree is whatever is right for them, how they define it. That's the only one whose opinion should matter, not a judge, not a politician, not a governor from a different state. That's what the fundamental question is here." Caitlin Collins pressed further, quote, "You have not been out in the forefront on this issue, though. I think people would care what you think of that." And here's Gretchen Whitmer's answer. "Yeah, but I'm not a doctor," she protested. And that's kind of where I'm going to stop here, for her to say, well, I can't give you a real good answer because I'm not a doctor. It reminds me of back in 2008 when Barack Obama was running against John McCain for the presidency. Both men attended a forum at Rick Warren's Saddleback Church outside of Los Angeles. And Rick Warren asked Barack Obama, when do you think human beings should attain rights? And Obama said, well, that kind of question is above my pay grade. Well, that's a pretty poor answer. It's above his pay grade. When 99% of doctors of all stripes admit or agree that life begins at conception, when the egg and the sperm unite, 99% of doctors agree that life begins at conception. But somehow, Gretchen Whitmer needs to be a doctor to decide about human life. And see, that's the problem I see with a lot of the pro-abortion Democrats and just pro-abortion advocates in general, is that they really want to disregard science, and they want to just go back to their talking points about women's reproductive rights, which has nothing to do with the science of fetal or human development. It just doesn't. And then, in my last point in this short little program today, has to do with a state senator from Nebraska. And I just saw today that he's a Democrat, or he was a Democrat, and he has left the party and become a Republican because of the Democratic Party's insistence, almost requirement, that you be pro-abortion, you be pro-choice. If you're going to be a politician in the Democratic Party, you need to toe the party line, which is pro-choice. And there are some, not many, but there are some Democrats more likely to be found in state legislatures than in the federal. In the federal, they're almost all of them pro-abortion. But at the state level, in certain states, you'll find a good smattering of pro-life Democrats. Well, this man, he had voted pro-life on a piece of legislation, and the state party censured him because he had committed the unpardonable sin. He voted pro-life. And with that, he basically said, adios, I'm out of here. I'm going to be a Republican. And the Republicans have embraced him with open arms. It's just another indication that when the national media and the liberals and the Democrats, the pro-abortion Democrats, when they talk about pro-life candidates or the issue of the pro-life movement or of abortion, they almost always say that the pro-lifers are extremists. You are an extremist if you are pro-life, which I find quite ironic because, to me, the extremists are the people that want to kill the babies. That's extremism. That is a horrific crime against the unborn child. So with that, I will let you go. I will see you next time.